behind the lock.
I'm here to collect Mr. Hawthorne's rent! Shut that please! Before I get you fucking squeal now! Christ almighty!
Johnny Fletcher busted into a farmhouse and property for you.
You bring me back that stuff to false.
Well, well, look at what we have here. Please don't kill me.
Gentleman John Fletcher! Damn it!
Johnny Fletcher! Don't make me chase you!
I didn't kill nobody. I didn't murder that family.
That don't break me down to me. Bounty hunter, you're a wanted man. Here.
Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds, and shall find me, unafraid. It matters not how straight the gates, how sharp the punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Stand down and no one has to die today.
This only ends one way.
They'll kill you all.
Why not take your chances in a prison cell?
Alright, I'm coming out.
My lord, I have a report.
Speak.
Our latest assassination attempt on Lady Nocturne has failed.
I can see stronger measures are needed. Begin phase 2.
Captured! The notorious Lady Nocturne has been brought in through the valiant efforts of the Void Cobras.
Get on the damn bird.
Prisoner, take 5 steps, then stop and turn your right.
But the pirates of Velix Mortis are far from defeated.
My lord, I have a report.
Let's cut to the chase, since we both know that this isn't a social call and you didn't come here to waste time.
Fine. High Command is gambling that the attempt on your life by your so-called friends has made you willing to cooperate. Am I wasting my time now?
What fate will befall the disgraced former pirate?
The Minotaur sends his regards, traitor.
What does your High Command want, and what are they offering in return?
High Command wants many things, but it wants a show of good faith first.
Go.
Team 1, move up. Fire Team 2, covering fire.
Bravo Team 1, push up. Bravo 2, give us support.
What next for now infamous mercenaries, the Void Cobras?
I want every last pirate I used to run with dead. I don't want to be watching over my shoulder every hour of every day.
Now you die!
Will the Void Cobras become targets of Lady Nocturne's former pirate comrades?
Attention, crash override. This is Freighter Ebony Hawk. My ship just lost all power and thrust. We're going down. Mayday, mayday, mayday.
There truly is no honor among thieves. You rabble will turn on each other at the slightest provocation.
Okay, fine. Moving past you.
Find out on the next episode of Star Citizen Nocturne.
Jameson, you copy?
Touch me now, I don't want to live without you. Nothing's gonna change my love for you.
Jameson, we require immediate emergency extract.
I don't know, man. It looks kind of hot over there.
Of interest in my life to idiots.
Okay, got it working, Sarge.
Alright, Corporal. Good work. Follow me! Y'all remember what Sarge said? Stay together, keep comms clear, and heads on the swivel.
Clear.
Okay, we're gonna secure it, then sweep the entire ship for survivors. Channel, you take point. Doc, you're behind me. Corporal, you're bringing up the rear.
Understood, Sergeant.
Taking track. Oh shit, I just saw something. Oh my god, oh my god!
Get the hell out of here!
Get him off me, get him off me, get him off me! They're getting in my armor! Ah!
I got into collecting bounties when a gang of bandits bushwhacked my wife, my best friend Coyote, and me. Meet the Jones brothers.
Take a look at the situation in which you find yourself.
That's Joshua.
Gonna have real bad. What's the Indian word for
Next to him is Rufus the Doofus.
Heck, I don't know. You're just trying to make me look dumb. All right, I want to
Next
see
to him is
on the
Lyman.
ground.
Remember those faces.
And 6.
You'll see him again.
8 hands praising Jesus.
The other ones, well, ain't no use in introducing. They're all dead.
Run!
Obadiah, get the saddlebags!
I later discovered the Jones brothers were all wanted men. I figured I might as well get paid for taking my revenge.
Man, we still want it for justice. Poster still on the wall?
So I hunted down the ones we didn't kill. Lyman, he sang like a bird. Rufus and Joshua were smuggling contraband down the river. Always to the same spot. I found a nice perch on a bluff above the river where I knew they would eventually be. During the war, I was a sharpshooter. Coyote's Whitworth came in handy. For weeks, I tracked them. Then I killed them.
If you like our content, we'd appreciate if you'd like, subscribe, and get notifications. Help us extend our reach by sharing our video content. And if you want to help us beat the algorithm, also leave us a comment on some of our videos. What is up, fam of Liberty, and anybody else who's watching that has no idea what they've just stumbled into?
Chaos. Certainly chaos.
Chaos, yeah.
Oh my God,
it's been a pretty chaotic couple of days. So, we have on deck, we have a couple of the moderators from Sons of Liberty Discord, to include Jasmiria. If I mispronounce that, I'm very sorry. On that note, Ciara, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Ciara, or do you have like some other pronunciation?
Ciara.
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 Yeah, I knew I was going to play.
It's all good.
All right. So for those of you that don't know, we've all got names, and our names are all underneath in the little bottom corner there. And then if you don't know, then now you know. So Admin Matt, Admin Doug, and I are Sons of Liberty social media admins, and our guests tonight, I'm going to let them introduce themselves as I normally do. That way I can't possibly screw that up anymore.
Which one of us do you want to go first?
I don't know. Flip a coin, roll the D4, die of fate. Entirely up to you.
Diana, you want to go first? Or you want me to?
Go first. Hi, I'm Diana Patton. I'm the National Commander of Veterans Defending Democracy, an affiliate of Defense Democracy. Our main goal is to protect public education and keep it inclusive, along with libraries. I've also been an advocate and an activist for the trans community and the LGBT community, and of course the veteran community. I'm also on the New York State Veterans Committee and the Hamburg Veterans Committee. How's that?
And probably a watch list at this point, given the way everything is going.
Oh, they're coming for me first. They're coming for me first.
I'm on a watch list too. I bet money on it. Hi, everybody. I'm Ciara Raincloud, disabled U.S. Navy Hospital Corps, 2003-2008, OIF, OEF, GWAT service and expeditionary for those that give a shit. No, I'm not a combat vet. I don't know how I got expeditionary, but they gave it to me, so whatever. And disabled 10%. So other than that, in terms of my activism, I'm an activist with the trans community. I'm engaged with Democratic Socialists of America as a member of the Executive Steering Committee, as well as the committee chair for the Trans Rights and Bodily Autonomy Working Group for the DSA here in my section of Ohio. I'm engaged with the League of Women's Voters, the National Conference on Community and Justice, PFLAG, and a bunch of other different groups. And I'm like out doing stuff all the time pretty much. And you're probably already seeing me in the Discord. Once I get vetted, whenever that happens, I guess you'll see me with the Ohio State reps as well. So yeah, hi. Hopefully that went good. So
that was outstanding. So what should we talk about tonight?
Can we first make sure that there's no one from the Atlantic on the call?
Well, and no one from the New York Times.
I mean,
please.
that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, to be honest with you. You know,
I mean,
like that had its usefulness. Anyway, oh,
wait a minute, hold on.
Before,
all the people I've been leaking to are on the call. Oh, I apologize. Who could have done it?
Before we begin, I want to hold on. Let me look this name. All right. Before we begin, I want to give a quick shout out to Kaya, whatever the fuck you pronounce your stupid fucking name. You know who you are, libs of TikTok out there.
Oh,
for those of you that don't know, the other week we had Katie and Lindsay on, and we were talking about how it would be a good idea to provide some additional training to veterans who are going to go to protests where there might be disagreements of a fisticuffle nature. And libs of TikTok, I don't know if they saw the stream or had somebody send it to them, and I don't really fucking care. For those of you that don't know, libs of TikTok is that information funnel that created that bullshit story about kids in school are shitting in litter boxes. So imagine my surprise when people are like, people from my gaming history are messaging me and are like, "Hey, is this you?" I'm like, does it look like me? They posted a screenshot and were like, "Look at these violent veterans who can't control themselves." And I'm like, "You're the dumb bitch that invented kids shitting in litter boxes in schools and getting transgender reassignment surgeries from the school nurse, you fucking idiot." I guess I'm an esteemed company. We the violent veterans of America who can't control our violence. You know what? You're a fucking civilian that never served. Shut the fuck up, Kaya. Your stupid name.
Get several schools in Oklahoma to have bomb threats. So.
Oh yeah.
Schools all over the country. Yeah, and
anyway.
Yeah.
Since we live rent free in Kaya's head, I thought I would just give Kaya a little shout out on the live stream.
Hey, Chaya.
Because I know you need more fodder for your bullshit spin machine. So I almost want to like stand up and show you a picture of my butthole just so you have something juicy.
So before I got the memo that I shouldn't be responding. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Before I got the memo that I shouldn't be responding because all that idiot wants is just more stuff to feed her.
I know. It's outrage farming. We do it too. It's no big deal. Everybody knows.
And I didn't get the memo. And I the first thing I did was start posting like, "Look, Mom, we made it to Libs of Texas." and my first question was, wait a minute. So you're mad about us wanting to do sit-ins and peaceful ways of protesting. Like, isn't it better that you shouldn't you have gotten the thing where we were like in support of all trans military people turning everybody gay? Like, isn't that why didn't you start with that?
Feel like,
you're losing your touch.
I feel like that was Alex Jones. But the other thing is like we're already on this person's radar and they already hate trans. So I guarantee you she's out there watching. She's probably furiously making shots right now and like, "These guys are talking to me," or some other stupid.
He's the one who's making pink triangle badges for us all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, nothing's off the table as far as I know outside stuff that should be off the table for obvious reasons. I don't know if I can toss some slurs around because I use them because, if I take the power away, it's whatever. But like, hey, Chaya, this tranny's armed and knows how to use it. So, I ain't afraid of your bitch ass.
The transgender community is on the internet. They're mocking me right now. We should all go complain to the internet about them.
Can you imagine?
This veteran doesn't have bone spurs and actually has a spine. So you want to come at me? I'm ready for you. Do your worst. I've seen your
You ain't
worst.
got none.
Your worst is nothing.
I mean, I might be mistaken, but I'm fairly positive that the owner of this account has never served in the military, and probably
Ciara
just
Rychik has
like
never
her
served.
little fucking
Never
orange Fuhrer hates veterans too.
No, Ciara Rychik has never served a day in the military. So,
and I don't see how. I mean, of course, there's no way that they're going to deny the Second Amendment to Ciara Raincloud, to Kyra.
Ciara.
Well, yes, they will.
There's no way they would deny
because you know that amendment is only for people who worship Donald Trump.
You know what? I got my carry and I got my 590 sitting back that way. So like I don't know, like this trans armed and ready. So like you bring your shit on. I ain't afraid of you. I ain't afraid of none of you.
Yeah.
41 years old.
I stay strapped.
Yeah, I'm 41. I'm more afraid of my 12-year-old turning 13 in like 2 months than I am of this bitch. So like,
rough waters ahead there.
Yeah.
Yes. So
at this point, I'm like, well, I got my carry license, and I'm just never gonna walk out of the house without it, unless I'm going to the airport.
I'd like to know as much as I can, as much as you can tell me. Where did you guys? What was your service history? Where did you guys serve? Where were you deployed to, or anything like that? Anything you want to share about your service history?
I started off as a nuclear electrician's mate in the U.S. Navy out of Orlando. That's where I went to boot camp, and then I failed out of the school with a 4.5 or 3.54 out of a 4.0. Highest, and by the way, passing was 3.5, but I missed 3 tests by 1 question each. So I ended up in Chicago, Great Mistakes, where I took fire controlman school. But again, I failed the same area, which was power supplies. I don't do good with theory. So I went from there, I became a machinist mate on my first ship, the USS Kalamazoo. Then I got flown back in the middle of the Med through Turkey for PTSD, where I spent 6 months in Bethesda for PTSD. And after my med hold was over, I ended up on my second ship, the USS Whidbey Island LSD-41, out of Norfolk again. And since they took the medication away that was working for the PTSD, I got sent back to the psych ward and got honorably discharged.
Okay.
And then for me, I brought it up a little earlier, but I went in 2003 on delayed entry. Training pipeline to Corps School was closed. So I went to NSTC Great Mistakes. RTC first, obviously RTC Great Lakes, and shipped over to NSTC Great Lakes to do CMA Ship Apprenticeship Training Division, and then shipped off to the USS Cape St. George CG-71, stationed out of Norfolk Naval Operations Base. And then I got my, 1306 chit? I think that's what they called them. Got my 1306 and went to NSTC Great Lakes for Hospital Corps A School as a fleet returnee with sea duty. Did that and was supposed to go 8404 FMF Corps. Fell out, unfortunately. I had an incident, real bad divorce, and I got sick, and I was at school and standing in the hallway and collapsed. Was in med for a couple days, and they're like, nope, we're not sending you to Lejeune. You're going this other place. And then they sent me to Naval Medical Center, Portsmouth, Virginia. I did patient admin and records keeping when I first got there for GS-12. That was a right royal bitch, and I hated her. After that, I did complicated OB/GYN, maternal infant child, neonatal intensive care, and a couple other stuff, a little bit of tour in the ER. I was Fleet Hospital Detachment. I am not a combat vet. I have not seen combat, but with my additional psych training that I did, and with vets coming back, not vets, active duty coming back, I have assisted combat veterans with like mental health issues and stuff like that. So, but I'm not a combat vet. I don't get to sit at that table. So,
Neither am I. I am a non-com. I served at the very end of Desert Storm from 92 to 95. I did get to see people when I was in the psych ward for the PTSD with Desert Storm Syndrome, and I finally got rated as a hall technician, which is a welder, plumber in the damage control division on board the ship.
Yep.
And my PTSD is from a car accident, so
mine and my 10% is I got drunk under the ship and drowned. Got rescued by the SAR.
Whoa.
I'm 50%, so and I just got it.
Wow.
All I got's 10%. We were doing Steel Beach Picnic. We were about 450 off the coast of North Carolina, heading to Grand Bahama. We stopped to do a Steel Beach Picnic, and I'd never swam in the open ocean before, so I jump off the fantail, 20 foot to the water line. My XO's out swimming. We got both of the ribs in the water for search and rescue, and I couldn't get back up the cargo net and tried to get back up. Ship rolled and I went under and got rescued by the search and rescue swimmer and brought back on board and tore up my back and everything else because of the way I got twisted. And they gave me 10% for that. So $170 a month.
You need to reapply. You need to call me and reapply, and we get your paperwork straightened out and get you way more. Because I got 50% just now.
Gotcha.
People are telling me to apply for more. So
I'd like to, but we all know how VA math works. Because I'm rated for like 3 or 4 things that are all 10%, but that doesn't make 40. It just makes 10. VA, the way VA math works, right? They're like, we'll give you these things, but they all don't rate more. They just, you only get the highest rating. But I will definitely. I've been fighting the VA since I got out, and I've been out for so long now because I discharged 2008, honorable, and so, Jesus, that's been a long damn time.
This administration has its way. We won't have any. So,
well, I mean, and I know people are getting sort of conflicting information. Like my LGBT Veterans Care Coordinator, my LGBT VCC, there were 3 of them at the VA here that I go to. He discharged me from therapy like a week or 2 ago, and my hormone replacement therapy, I'm grandfathered in, so that's still coming. I kind of need it to live like the last 6-7 years I've been on HRT, but everything else is gone, like voice stuff and prosthetic stuff and everything else to do with trans care at the VA, at least here in the Dayton area in this Midwestern section of Ohio, which is kind of redundant to say Midwest Ohio. Is all gone. So like, and then we don't know if they're just going to cut the HRT completely eventually for all of us. So I'm trying to look at,
They did do it to a veteran in Alaska. They cut them off completely from HRT.
Did they? Yeah.
And they were grandfathered in too. So this grandfathered in stuff doesn't mean crap.
No, it doesn't. So and I think the thing that pisses me off the most is like, to have served during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and to have been the victim of abuse during my service, religious persecution, because I was actively a practicing Wiccan, and I went to the Unitarian Universalist chaplain, physical abuse that I suffered, and like, because I was kind of effeminate and didn't really know myself when I was in, and like to get treated like trash while I was in. And I just, I was a corpsman. I wanted to save lives and help people. It's cringe, but that's what I wanted to do. And so I come out, and it took years to get my disability, and I felt tossed aside as soon as I got out. And then now these people are telling me that somehow I am simultaneously this like boogeyman that is like, I just want to like walk into the bathrooms and assault all the women, and I'm like super strong, and I'm like trying to destroy all of women's sports everywhere that they suddenly care about now. But also I'm too weak to serve, but I've already served, and I'm a piece of shit because I'm trans, I guess, or whatever, and so they just throw me away now, like the rest of us. And it's like, how are we simultaneously the big bad that's like super strong and we're dominating the world, but also we're too weak to serve and we're too weak to deserve care at the VA? It's like traditional fast shit, right? You know, the enemy is both things at once, right? The enemy is both strong and weak.
That's what I was going to say. All of fascism works in that same dichotomy.
Yeah,
true.
To kick me off my estrogen, because before I got on my estrogen, my anger and everything in the world was super strong. Now I feel normal and great and everything. And if I go off of that, I'm gonna be a crazy
bitch
motherfucker again. I am. It's true. It keeps me sane. It keeps me more passionate and empathetic towards other people, and that's my nature.
Yeah.
Not the crazy biker person that I was trying to pretend to be beforehand.
Though I will say that the cramps and the hot flashes fucking suck.
That is true. They do suck.
Yeah, and the hormone headaches also suck ass. My wife loves giving me shit. Like whenever I come upstairs to like talk to her about something new that's happening. I remember months ago I ran upstairs and I was like, I got a pain going on, and she's like, oh, that's cramps. Welcome to womanhood, bitch. And just like, like
I don't get those.
I do.
I used to get bad migraines that would send me to the ER, and
me too.
They're gone. The moment I got on HRT, they're gone. Nowadays I get a headache, I don't even need an aspirin for it.
Nice.
As for the hot flashes, I seem to only get those when it's freezing cold outside, and I'm in New York, a place, Buffalo, known for blizzards.
Yeah, for sure.
So when I go outside and it's 0 degrees out, I get a hot flash and don't need a jacket. So I find it as a superpower.
Hopefully we both answered your question though, there, Admin Doug.
And the main reason why I asked it, you actually ended up getting into. I was wondering, first of all, my goal in this question and in this whole thing is, I want other people who were in the military and who have had the same experience or are now dealing with this because they didn't grow up in Don't Ask, Don't Tell, where you're just supposed to be okay with hiding it. And even recently, where everything was supposedly okay, you've gotten flack, but at least you knew the law was on your side. I wanted them to see other people that have gone through it at a different time when they had to hide it, and kind of just give those experiences. And part of that is knowing, yeah, you guys served. You gave a history. You guys have been through it. You guys have suffered for it. You guys have become disabled as a result of either mentally PTSD or whatever. And you have done the thing. You've been a part of the military. You did the service. You served well. And you're also trans. I wanted them to see that experience. So now knowing what the history, knowing your service record, and you kind of talked a little bit about it, Kyra. I'm just making sure I'm saying it right, Kyra. Every time I see it,
you'll get it. It's fine.
It's easier. We're used to that, like we're in the military. Just use the last name.
Yeah.
There you go. And I wanted to know, what was that? Could you give about your experience being different, quote unquote, being effeminate, or maybe not being able to change physically on the outside like you felt on the inside because you were in the military. So I just want to know what that's like. So then when we talk about afterwards, them taking this away, what that really means. And it's not just some ephemeral thought. It's not just some idea that it actually has consequences. So talk about that, Diana. What was it like for you being in that time, all the way up until your transition?
Different. I'm like the 10% of the trans population. I didn't know I was trans from a young age. I didn't know any of that. I thought trans people were actually intersex people. So I didn't realize it about myself. I knew something was always off from a young age. I just didn't know what. So I gravitated towards hyper masculinity, very hyper masculine, biker type. I hung around all, the tough guys in school. I did bad crap when I was a teenager. You asked me to dared me to do something, I'd do it. I just because I thought that's what guys do. It wasn't until later in life that I realized, okay, I cross dress a little bit here and there. I understand these feelings, but I don't know what it's about. So I went and sought help after. It was probably 10 years after I got out that I actually sought that help. So I didn't realize what I was going through in the military. But I do teach on these subjects. And one of the things that's very interesting is that if you take a look at the trans population of anyone that's
Can you have
over
Ari
the
run me
age
down a
of
Coke, please?
45,
Yeah, can't Coke.
37% tend to be veterans. 37% sign up. We are the highest demographic to serve our country, whether it be in silence or secret or closeted. We have the highest amount of people who join the military.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a couple factors for that.
That's what I was going to say. I'm sure there's not just one reason, and I'm not going to rely on you to dissect the information. But deep down inside, and you've known about it, you've been thinking about it. What are some of the reasons why you think?
Pants on, Ari? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Ari, you got pants on? Okay. Sorry.
Pants? No need. No need.
I love you.
Love you too, sweetie. Sorry.
So, what was your question?
See, I'm a parent too. I've got a kid. So.
For those of you who do I apologize. I thought we were talking about an adult here. Please scratch that from the record. Right.
Sorry about that. Oh, sorry about that, Tim. Hopefully that look on the face there. Feeling bad about that.
You can't control life.
Huh?
Can't control life. That's just life.
So what are your thoughts on why? You've been thinking about it for a while. Do you have any? Of course, it's not scientific, but what are your thoughts on why that is?
Response to what? Can you repeat it?
But response to them being a very high rate, like 30-something% of everyone who raised their hand during the survey said that they're trans.
Sure. This
pretty
was
high
a study.
percentage.
Yeah.
That's
This
a
was
high
a research study that I read. That's how I found all this information out, because I teach this. I used to do the rounds at colleges and everything, teaching, having open transgender conversations where anyone could ask me any question, and I'd have to learn all this stuff: endocrinology, psychology, neurobiology, all this stuff, so that I could give the best presentation I could from these questions. And the study says there's basically two factors. One, if the person's not out, they tend to gravitate towards the military for two reasons. One, everybody looks the same because they all wear the same clothes, so that relieves the stress there. Two, they're closeted and they're trying to gravitate towards a hyper masculine type of job. That includes trans men. Mm-hmm. They're gravitating towards a hyper masculine job or career. So they tend to gravitate that way. Nowadays, that's kind of shifted, because about 15 years ago, that number was actually higher. It was closer to 47%. Nowadays, since you're out in the open, of course, people are afraid they're going to reverse everything, which they're doing now. So I think that's why the numbers dropped.
I'm going to add some to that.
The big thing now is the acceptance in the military. That's why you're still getting the high number of trans people joining, because, for example, during a typhoon off the coast of Norway for 5 days, we were in the hurricane, and the engine room started flooding because we got a 3.5-foot crack in the ship's hull. Me and the other hull tech, who was actually the underwater welder, had to go down in that compartment, get sealed in, and weld that crack shut. And I was the fire watch. You have to trust those people to open that hatch back up. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of that hatch. You just need to worry about if that person is going to do their job or not. That's all you need to worry about. You don't need to know if they're male, female, black, Hispanic, Muslim, Wiccan, or have tiger spots or believe they're a furry. I don't care. If they're able to do their job, that's all I care about. Can they open that hatch? Can they make sure that the lives of everybody that is on that ship safe? Are they going to do their job, or are they going to gun deck it and get someone killed? Are they going to do something stupid and not follow orders and get someone killed? That's all I care about. That's all anyone should ever care about.
What were you gonna say, Ciara?
So I think for me, like, to sort of parrot a little bit of what Diana said and talking about that too, is I knew I was trans at 9. I didn't know what that was, but I knew that things were wrong, things were different. And going into the military was that gravitation towards the hypermasculine to fight back against the stuff that I was told was wrong. Because I grew up in a cult in Xenia, Ohio. Not a named one, a very small little thing. And so, like, I went in because, that I didn't have any other options. I was a high school dropout. I got a GED and dropped out. And my dad and I were living in government housing, and I had really no real options outside of, like, I don't know, working at like KFC or whatever. And so I went in with the thought that I was going to save lives and make a difference and do something with my life. And that, I get to be in the uniform and everybody's going to be proud of me, and I'm not going to feel the way that I feel anymore. It's all going to go away, and I'm going to be, haze gray and underway and just rocking and rolling. Didn't happen. I put a lot into pushing through that. And I pushed a lot of it down, and a lot of it came back out after I discharged. But I think, like Diana said, like, a lot of people, trans men most especially, are going to want to gravitate towards it and want to be in like combat roles and things like that because of that operator sort of persona, right? The guys with the, like Tim, the guys with the beards and, out there with M4s and stuff. The trans women are trying to like rebel against that push we're having and thinking we have to like gravitate to the other sides to like prove who we are, which is not accurate at all. And I think a lot of trans people just, they want the belonging and they want the family, they want that uniformity because it's a lot less stress. Because I can tell you, we always, a lot of people like me and Diana, as activists and advocates, we always talk about trans pain. We very rarely get a chance to talk about trans joy. And a lot of trans people are traumatized and have been through traumatic experiences through most of their lives. And the military is sort of supposed to be a way to get away from a lot of that too. And it doesn't really turn out that way. A lot of people come out not okay, and we've all seen it. We've got people that come home but don't come home.
Yeah.
Right? They come home, but they're they're not home. Sure, a bunch of us have probably lost people too. So like, and it sucks. Like I will say, like, you know, the last time that Trump Felon 47, you know, Lord Commander Marmalade, last time that he did what he did with the first trans ban, we lost 36 trans veterans to suicide. 36. Who knows how many it'll be this time with the Tangerine Tyrant doing everything he's doing, and trying to ruin things, especially with the VA. We all know that, you know, veteran suicidality is at like 17 to 18 a day. Who knows what's going to happen with the way things are going on at the VA. So like, I know I'm like tangenting a little bit here, but most of the people I know that went in that were trans just went in for those reasons of like family and doing something with their lives, and, you know, gravitating towards the things they were told that they needed to do to be who they were. If that makes any sense at all. Probably not making a lot of sense right now.
You're making good sense.
You are making good sense. And if we can dovetail off of that, perhaps you could each talk about what brought you to activism.
Oh. I'll start with this one. For me, I really got into things, be over 10 years now. But I would say I probably really got started when Trump first came on the scene. Because I looked at that and saw what was happening with the MAGA movement, and as somebody that had served and actually believed in the Constitution and took an oath. I took two, because I took one for being a corpsman too. That's a completely different oath called the Corpsman's Pledge. I looked at that and was like, no, this is not us. This is not who we're supposed to be, and really got involved. And of course, I came out in 2016. I started my transition in 2018. So I'm an elder tran by now.
Chabit still.
Yeah. And I really got active when he came on the scene. So I got involved with the local Democratic Party, and I was a staging and location director for a congressional candidate that ran, for the 36th congressional district. And it just sort of spiraled from there, getting involved with LGBT groups and trans groups and veterans groups, and doing stuff with the local Democratic Party, and then gravitating towards leftist groups and stuff. And it's just sort of grown from there. So
mine's a little bit of a funny story how I got into activism. I got involuntarily volunteered for it.
Voluntold.
It's what the Navy stands for. Never again volunteer yourself. You always get involuntarily volunteered. So
mandatory fun.
Yep. I started going to a bunch of support groups, and nuke it is what nukes get told all the time. Don't nuke it. So I'm still in that thinking way. So when I started going to the support groups and seeking help for all this, I started doing, reading medical journals, reading all I could up on what is being transgender. What does this mean? And what are the studies? What do the experts say? So I started reading all this. And so at the support groups, I'm known for getting people to open up. So I started talking in the support groups, and two of the people who ran it, who have been doing this for 20 years before I came on the scene, took me and a friend of mine aside and said, "You're now running the support group. Good luck. See you later." And that's how I ended up in it. And then I ran the support group for 3 years. Then I started We Exist, ran that for a couple years when Trump got into office. And then, of course, when I became disabled with degenerative disc and couldn't work anymore, I needed to know how to navigate the system, and I didn't have any help. So that's what made me get into the work to help other veterans, not just LGBT people, because the Veterans Homeless Program is what kept me off the streets. And you have to know how to navigate that system in order to get the help that you need. And it's actually quite simple to do it as long as you meet the requirements. So my thing is I don't want someone having to go through what I went through to get what you need. So anyone who calls me, and I don't care if it's a MAGA veteran who calls me, if they need help, they're a veteran first, and I will take care of them. I can't tell you how many times I've got a call from a MAGA veteran who will call me all kinds of stupid names. We get down to the VA, I get them the help they need, and they go, you know what? I can at least respect you.
So what is that? How do they call you? What's your organization? The best way to contact you?
Mine is Defensive Democracy, and if anyone wants to volunteer for Defensive Democracy, all you have to do is, am I allowed to give a phone number? It's a Google number, so it's not going to hurt no one.
It's up to you.
Just text volunteer to 1-845-208-9846.
I'll stand there.
And I'm also on 2 organizing committees right now. One for, I'm helping Katie, of course, with the 50-51 vets. I'm training people for peaceful protest training. I've been doing it every week now for the past 2 weeks, Sundays at 8. And I'm also on an organizing committee for rally in DC on the 30th. It's let me give the title for that so I don't screw it up. Rally Against Fascism, Honoring and Preserving Our Military History. And we're going to have speakers from each marginalized group come and speak, such as trans people, Native Americans speaking on Code Talkers. I just spoke to someone from the JACL about the most decorated World War II regiment, a Japanese regiment, the 442. We're going to try to get them to speak. I think we have 2 Black speakers on Tuskegee Airmen. I think we actually have a relative from the Tuskegee Airmen that's going to speak. We want to have a Native American ceremony before we start. This is really coming together, and it's one guy's vision. I don't know if you guys are ever on TikTok and know Combat Vet Against Trump. This guy came with a vision, and he asked us all to get it going, and we're moving on it. But we need help. We have 0 funds. We got to get a stage. We got to pay for 14 porta-johns to be at the National Mall. And Tim, I was asked to ask Sons of Liberty if they want to be a part of this. We need some more partners.
Yes.
All right. Well, you got my email, and we're having a meeting on Wednesday, a Zoom call. If you ever want to take my peaceful protest training, you're more than welcome to. I go over everything, no matter what the scale, whether it's local or national, and I go over everything: permit process, getting arrested, what you should have on you, supplies, everything.
What about not just peaceful protest? What about what were we calling this?
You mean like sit-ins and stuff like that?
Yeah, more
civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is still a peaceful protest. The only difference between civil disobedience and a rally is civil disobedience means you're probably going to get arrested. You have like a 99% chance of being arrested. So you have to plan for that. If you do a regular protest, your risk for being arrested is minute.
So this is something that actually just happened in Florida. We had a 20-year-old transgender college woman who sent in letters to people in Florida, not a veteran, but sent in letters to people in Florida that she was going to use the women's restroom at the Florida State Capitol building
when she arrived, there were multiple law enforcement officers there waiting for her that told her if she were to enter the women's restroom, they were going to arrest her. She went into the women's restroom anyways, washed her hands, was in there for 30 seconds before they arrested her and pulled her out and charged her with trespass and all of that stuff. Which I sent the news link there for people that are also interested in following more trans related news, not just on behalf of veterans. I cannot recommend Erin Reed enough. She's wonderful. She's amazing. She's one of the most well-known trans reporters, journalists covering a lot of the stuff, and she covers stuff for trans veterans as well, and active duty members too. So like, I went into a sit-in just a couple days ago, and we actually moved the sit-in because people were campus police were basically saying they were going to arrest us. So like, yeah. Sorry to cut you off there, Diana.
No problem. Interrupt me. I have a tend to overspeak, so you're fine to interrupt me. I never get offended. The thing is with me, I care more about the issue. I don't do this stuff for me. I would rather sit home, play video games, watch my movies. But I can't have someone out there fighting for me without me being on the front line. That's who I am. I don't want to read another name at the Transgender Day of Remembrance. I don't want to get another phone call 3:00 in the morning of another trans person or veteran who's on the razor's edge about ready to jump off. I've been doing this 15 years and I've lost track of the names. Thousands of names, thousands of phone calls. I'm having trouble dealing with it now because I've heard them so many times. We just had Sam Nordquist here in New York just a little bit ago about, tortured for months because of some crazy people.
And they didn't want to class that as a hate crime for some stupid reason.
That was bizarre.
It's
absolutely
just
bizarre.
Hate.
Hate crime.
If you want to take a look at the civil rights timeline before Trump, black civil rights were, they're probably in the 80s. Gay LGBT people were probably like in the 70s, and us trans people, we're still stuck almost to the point where we have pink triangles put on our chest. And most people don't know this, but trans people is where that 1930s BS started from.
Yeah.
The very first institute, the Hirschfeld Institute, was for trans people.
Yeah, it was.
The biggest library and studies and research done about all of this was the Hirschfeld Institute. Those were the first books and libraries they went after. Those were the first people they imprisoned before the concentration camps. After the Holocaust, LGBT people were not released from the concentration camps. They went from jail to concentration camp, back to jail, and weren't released to 1967.
Something, if we don't mind, one of the things that I wanted to bring up coming here too was just how bad things are for trans people in the U.S. right now. Not just trans veterans, right? We know they've got 3 attack vectors right now. The first attack vector is immigration, right? Immigration, the border. I live in Ohio. I live literally like 20 minutes away from Springfield. They're not eating cats and dogs. I got friends that still live there. We know that women's rights, right? We just had a woman who in Georgia had a miscarry, and they charged her with felony concealing of a body and like felony like failure to report a death and all this other nonsense for a miscarry. And so they've got her in jail right now, and the AG is admitting there's no laws in the books for this, but she concealed the death of another person to the whatever because they found her unconscious, bleeding to death. And then the third one is us, the transes. And it's mostly, sorry to my non-binary finery and to my trans brothers and to my intersex fellows, it's the trans women. It's people like me and Diana. It's the trans women. 90% of it is us, right? They go on and on about we're all pedophiles, we're all rapists, we're all trying to destroy women's sports. Like I said earlier in the stream, the sports they suddenly give a shit about. When they've done things like banned trans women from playing chess with cis women because we have a innate advantage over cis women in playing chess.
So we can reach the pieces easier. We can reach the pieces easier.
Well, no, the thing about this that I hate the most, right, is everything the trans exclusive radfems, the gender criticals as they call themselves, these women that hate trans women like me. We had a group of women who were doing competitive fishing who had a trans woman on their team and threw her off because she had an advantage, a male advantage at fishing. And these women don't realize how incredibly stupid they are, that whenever they shut down a trans woman, the argument that they're making is literally giving in to all the sexism and misogyny, because every time you say a trans woman is better than a cis woman at X, Y, and Z, and these cis women are like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and oppress me, daddy. They don't realize that they're literally just advocating for their own continued abuse and mistreatment.
And
one of the things that I wanted to bring up, there is actually, for those that don't know it, there's a website called translegislation.com, which will show you the 821 pieces of anti-trans legislation across 49 states so far this year.
It's interesting to note too that for all their vilifying of the trans community and all their claims and they're after our children, etc., yet it's GOP elected officials who keep showing up in the news for not being able to keep their hands off little kids.
Yeah, and that
we
is
had the one in Ohio. We had the one from the former state senator from South Dakota, and that's just this last week.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the J6ers who keep ending up on the wrong side of the law for their indulgence in underage children. I'm just saying.
Can we go over
GOP's projecting a bit?
Can we go over their argument too about the danger of bathrooms, about dangers of bathrooms? What's protecting women right now, or anyone in a bathroom? A sign on the door. A sign on the door. There's someone who wants to do harm, and they get all the way up to the door and they read it and go, damn, I can't do what I wanted to do. I'm going to have to go home, get in a dress, put on some makeup, get a wig, go ask my doctor for some hormones, have some surgery, and maybe in 2 years I can come back and do the harm I wanted to do. That's what my plan will be. Yeah. I'll go do that because then I won't get arrested. Well, I hate to tell you, if a trans person does break a crime, does something against a kid, they're going to jail too. Just because you're trans doesn't get you a pass out of jail. Actually, trans people don't want to break the law in the first place because guess what? Who's going to be a target in jail?
Yeah.
They usually throw us into confinement by ourselves for our own protection, which is considered torture. So I don't see the argument.
Well, I mean, there's something else to take into consideration, which is the practice of V-coding, which if you've never heard of V-coding, lots of triggering content warnings, but basically the practice of V-coding is they will put trans women in men's prisons, and the guards will give the trans woman to the most violent male prisoners. They're given to placate these violent male prisoners. The guards are doing this on purpose. And one of the things that's been part of my advocacy and activism is trying to fight this and make sure that it stops, because we get news. We had one trans woman who was being sexually assaulted roughly 8 times a day. No one cares because trans, right? So like it's why I bring up trans legislation. It's why I bring up the Erasure. It's funny because at one of our last DSA meetings, I asked a room full of about 50 people. I said, what do you call it when a government tries to erase the history of a group of people, tries to control what a group of people do, what they say, where they go, how they dress, passes laws to the tune of almost 1,000 laws, bills this year, all of the stuff they're doing to target trans people, and a whole room full of people went and said genocide, because that's the intent. They got up at CPAC and said that the intent was to eradicate transgenderism, and then tried to walk it back and be like, well, I want to eradicate transgenderism. I don't want to eradicate trans people. And my response is, well, I want to eradicate Christianity. How do I do that without getting rid of the Christians?
Right.
No,
right. It's the same. It's the same thing.
Isn't that the guy's name? Knowles. What's his first
name? Oh yeah. Hey, Christopher Knowles or whatever the hell is, some Nazi fuckwit that is.
Yeah,
doesn't
he's
matter.
a Jewish guy too. He's the one who
doesn't mean he's not a Nazi collaborator.
Yeah, he's
sad as that is.
Yeah.
Oh, there were gay Nazi collaborators too. Matter of fact, the head of the SS was a gay man, and up until Hitler took power, he was in charge of the SS. And then when he took power, they took him out and put him in a concentration camp.
Yeah. So,
Knowles was doing the tour with Turning Point USA after he came out and said transgenderism in all its forms needs to be eradicated.
How do they plan to do that without killing us, I wonder?
Change transgenderism to any other demographic.
Yeah.
And you'll understand where that came from. If you change it to Judaism, you change it to Christianity, you change it to Black people, you change it to Asians, change it to Native Americans. It all comes down to the same thing. You cannot get rid of an ideology or a people without getting rid of those people who practice that ideology or who are that thing. You cannot do it. It's impossible.
What do you got, Matt?
I was going to say there's a number of people they're looking to get rid of, and to your point, it's always the smallest demographic that they'll go after first, because they're trying to move that see if the rest are willing to give up just a small piece of the flock to have peace, and then it's a few more, and then it's a few more, and that's how it encroaches. But it always starts with whatever the smallest possible piece of the whole is, to see if you're willing to betray the others to be left alone.
Yeah, and we're sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and the lesson from history is that collaborators are never spared.
No,
they're just the last ones to get loaded in the train car. You all still going to the same place.
You go into the same ditch.
Exactly.
You're just going last.
Yeah.
And that's definitely true. And it's because when you the estimates of total number of trans people in the U.S. is between like 1.6 and 3.6 million. It's hard to get actual because people are scared and closeted and things like that. But still, between 1.6 and 3.6 million is like between 0.5% and 1% of the country is trans. We're literally outnumbered. Like there's 300 million people in the country. We're literally outnumbered 299 million, to one, I guess, or 299 to 1, whatever. Math, who cares? I was a corpsman. I didn't need to worry about math. Except for medication dosages, obviously, right? But like, it's it's something that I try to bring up in my activism and my advocacy too, is looking at people and being like, look, I'm just like you. I've got my hobbies. I've got my things I love, my things I'm afraid of. I'm worried about putting food on the table for the kid and the spouse. I'm worried about, my health care. I'm worried about having enough money to pay for the fact that my car's messing up on me. Like, I'm worried about the same things that everybody else is, and I'm just as human as everybody else. But because I'm trans, I guess that just means that none of that stuff gets attached to me. Like, I love video games. I love Star Trek. I love anime. I'm working on my own tabletop role-playing game. I'm an indie author, writing books and stuff like that. So, like, there's more to me than just being trans, and there's more to every trans person than just being trans. But that's the thing that they want to drill down on, and it really gets me too. That from the people wearing, well, we saw it today, Idiocracy in the Oval Office,
Right.
with Kid Rock and all his bullshit. The people that are like, oh, you make trans your whole personality. I'm like, fucker, what are you doing right now wearing that tacky ass shit that you're wearing in the Oval Office? These people with the MAGA hats and everything else.
What he was wearing. Not a single person asked him what he was wearing.
Not a single person asked him to say thank you. It was weird.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, have you said thank you?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to fucking say thank you about.
You caught the Mrs. Kid Rock acting hysterically when nobody cheered him on the other day when he was doing his concert.
Oh yeah,
someone needs to give him a Tampax for his little PMS tirade up on the stage. I hope no one takes offense to that. I'm making fun of Kid Rock. No one else.
All right. It's all right.
Poor Kid Rock. Poor Kid Rock.
I'm sure there's probably like a couple people watching the stream that could still get down with ball with the ball, but otherwise nobody gives a shit.
I would never tell anyone that, even if I could. How embarrassing. No, what I always want to say, and in pretty much every group,
Ball with the ball with the
what I always want to say
yeah. Why is it always like these mediocre white people that come up with stupid? You remember that guy from Canada, Snow? He was like, Informer.
What I always want to say to you guys is, I'm so sorry. And I say that to you because they sure as fuck are never going to say it, but you still deserve to hear it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we are your accomplices, and we are going to be there standing with you, just so you know that.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
I thank you for saying that. But I don't want to dismiss what you just said. It does mean a lot. But instead of saying I'm sorry, get other people to get up off their ass and get out on that front line. Get them to stand there next to us. Get them to, if they're in a store and seeing someone harassed, whether they're trans or not, or they're just anybody, to start getting up off their ass and saying something, because we've been quiet for too long and hate has reared its ugly head. And now they have a leader that's encouraging them to do this crap. And we need to start standing up for anyone who's going through this. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to read our the veterans oath we wrote for Veterans Defending Democracy. I think it'll shed a little light on things.
Yeah.
I am a United States military veteran. I became a leader by my willingness to serve my country. I am the visible conscience of a nation with regard to the cost of extremism and freedom's true price. I will not fail to support another veteran or those who cannot defend themselves. He or she may have wounds or hardships that few others would understand. I am a part of the eternal watch of my country and guard it against extremism and tyranny. Honor, courage, and commitment define me to this day. I have been called to serve again. My country and nation have called. I am a steadfast guardian of American ideals, freedoms, and history. I stand my watch and defend democracy. I am the keeper of the rights of those being dismissed, discriminated against, harassed, bullied, and killed. I am an American veteran. I promise to protect the weak and the meek, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy. My watch never ends. And that's the real veteran's oath.
It's excellent.
Love it.
Makes me think of one of my favorite songs about William Tell. There's a chorus to that song that goes, "Keep your eye clear and keen like a falcon on the wing. Keep your heart strong and steady like your hand upon the string. Never bow to a tyrant while your people are laid low, for the highest head may fall to the man that wields the bow." Which I think is like that same sort of energy. Sic semper mortem imperial, sic semper mortem tyrellium tyrannus, or however the fuck you say it. That the oppressor libre, right? Our watch, in my opinion, our watch never ends. I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and then I swore a second oath as a corpsman to hold the care of the sick and injured to be a privileged and sacred trust. So far, no one has relieved me of my duties. And I know it's cringe and it's stupid and it's whatever, but like,
it's not.
Yeah, you keep saying cringe.
General order.
You've been around the wrong people for too long. That
Yeah.
stuff, that stuff is what I live on.
It's
I love
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to bring up too, and not to like put anybody down, but one of the biggest things that I want, when I like that you said accomplice, not ally. Don't be an ally. Do you know why? Allegiances can change.
It's true.
Be a comrade, be an accomplice. Allegiances.
That's
can
why
change.
I say that.
Hmm?
That's why I say that. Like when I do videos on the subject, I say I'm not an ally, I'm an accomplice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Shameless self-plug. We also have an accomplice t-shirt, motherfucker.
And for God,
bumper sticker too.
Yeah.
For God's sake, don't be a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Don't be one of these people who someone makes a mistake and you go off on them. Who was it? God, I can't remember his name. The guy who's saying we're not going to take it.
Oh, was that
Dee Snider?
Dee Snider with Twisted Sister.
Twisted Sister.
About last year or the year before, he, agreed with somebody about hormones for kids. But he said, I don't get it. I'm not an expert. You shouldn't listen to me, but this is my opinion based on what I know right now, that kids shouldn't be able to receive hormones or anything. He goes, that's just my opinion. I'm not an expert. Don't believe what I say. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that as long as you're continuing to learn and grow. And I know that he's an accomplice and a comrade. He's someone who does fight for the trans community, but he has things he hasn't learned yet. And he's going to have wrong opinions, and he needs to be educated on them. We shouldn't go off on him. We should say, okay, we understand your opinion. We understand that it might sound true to you, but please, here's some more information. Read this. Read what the experts say and learn. That's what we're supposed to do. Not say, you don't belong with us. You don't belong singing at a pride event. You don't belong with us anymore because you said one wrong thing, which is an opinion, and you said you could possibly be wrong for that opinion because you're not an expert.
I want to push back on you on that a little bit because I don't agree with you entirely. I think there's a couple things that I bring up in my activism about this. The first is when you have a Darvo situation, which Darvo is deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender, where you have somebody who is saying things that are directly harmful and impactful to the trans community, and they get legitimate pushback on it, and then they act as though they have been abused, they have been mistreated, they are the victim, when the things that they have been saying have been hurting the community and leading to demonstrable harm, demonstrable harm, excuse me. The other part too is you have to prove to me, first of all, that you're actually willing to listen and to be educated before I'm not just going to treat you like an ally, you know, day one, and just because you're saying some things that are good and some things that aren't good. If you can't handle being pushed back on for saying the bad things, the wrong things, then I'm sorry, buck it the fuck up, Buttercup. I am the one in this relationship between me and the hypothetical person I'm shadowboxing that has to worry about being gunned down for walking out of a McDonald's if I walk out of the restroom in a McDonald's. We had a woman in Puerto Rico, a trans woman in Puerto Rico, who walked out of the women's bathroom and a guy emptied an entire mag and 9mm into her while hurling slurs at her a couple years ago, right? Like, I don't have time anymore for cis people for your whiny, bitchy little woe is me, the tranny was mean and rude to me. I ain't got time for it.
That's not what D. Snyder did.
I'm not talking about just D. Snyder. I'm
just using him as an example.
I'm using him as an example, right? I ain't got time for it.
That's what I'm using.
Right.
Because
let me finish. If I can finish. I don't have time to educate absolutely everybody. I don't have time to deal with the hurt fees of people that can't handle getting pushback. I don't have time to deal with the people who can't prove to me that they're willing to listen in the first place. And so actually, yeah, I'm going to shut the gate on those people. I am going to do it. I'm going to go look for somebody else that is willing to sit and listen, willing to change their opinions and views, willing to be educated, willing to get pushback, willing to be critiqued and criticized, and not make themselves out to be the victim in the process.
I understand that argument, but the thing is, we can't afford to push people away because they make a mistake. We can't afford that. The Black Civil Rights Movement had to learn that they need allies from the exact community that's oppressing them. They had to learn that in order to make things change. We need to learn that. The gay community learned that they need straight people on their side. We know we need people on our side, just like you said. We are 1% of the population. We are not going to change things on our own. We are not.
Right,
and if we go off on everybody who makes a mistake, we are not going to have anyone fighting for us except us. We need people watching our backs. We do have to stop the victim mentality when they're corrected. I absolutely agree. But there's a way to do it. There's a way to push those people away too and actually be against us as well. And I can't stand it when people gatekeep and say, if you don't follow everything I say about my community, you're not welcome here at all. Though I've gotten death threats from people in my own community because I stopped someone in our community from harassing somebody. Someone was harassing somebody at a rally. I did. And I said, not here, not now, not at a thing that I am doing. I won't have it. You're not going to bully anyone. You're not going to harass anyone while I'm around. And I don't care who that person is, because we have to try to be better than them. Because when we're not, we give an example, we give them fodder, we give them ammo to use directly back at us. And I won't do that. I won't be a part of anything that has, gives them the ammunition to use against us. I won't do it.
If I may, before you, so here's the deal, as I see, because this is the exact kind of conversation that happens in your community. Both of you can be talking about that and disagree on that, and still work. And I find it akin to what happened in the Black community directly after the orange orangutan was elected. Immediately there was the psyop. I got sent a bunch of Black women who said the black man hates black women. They all hate you. They're not with you. We saw it in the numbers. Even though 80% of black men voted the right way, it was very easy to see that this just doesn't belong in my algorithm. I have never ever watched these people. These people have thousands of views, so they have followers. This is the opposite of everything I watch, which is black unity and how to get together and fight this thing. And I said to my people in the video, I said, number one, the first part of all of this is, as an adult, you can hear a thing and not have an opinion. So I can hear exactly what Ciara says and realize that that conversation wasn't for me until I hear how can I help. That's not my place, or that's not my conversation. I can hear it and not have an opinion. I can hear what Diana says and not have an opinion on that. And I decided to go through my channel and say, well, for me, I think I want to be this way. But I'm not going to tell those black women and all of those things that came in my feed. I'm not going to be like, not all men do that. It wasn't for me. And I realized that. They're talking to their people. And guess what? They also have that right to have that be their reaction. I cannot tell the oppressed how to react to their oppression. And so that's one thing I know to be true, is that Diana's response may be different from Ciara's response. But if we know that we're still working towards the same goal, I'm not going to tell all of those women and all the people I came in that feed that they're wrong. I just realized the psyop that they're trying to turn it into a division instead of just the reality that everybody can think differently about this. Here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we're both right in our own views from the experiences that we have.
Right.
And I'm not telling you, Ciara, that you're wrong in what you're doing at all. It's just from where I'm standing, this has been my experience in how to handle the same thing. And I don't like the gatekeeping, because those who came before me and trained me in what I do, the people I ask for advice from on how to handle this stuff, they've told me we need those allies, those comrades, those accomplices in order to move forward, because we're such a small group. We need them. So we have to find a way to educate them without pushing them away when they make a mistake.
So,
and that's my point.
There's a few things that I want to say to this. Obviously, first of all, Diana, you and I are same team, same side, right?
Yes,
so like,
absolutely.
I'm gonna work with you even if I disagree with you. I think
Absolutely.
there's a few points that I like to bring up in my activism and advocacy is, number one, why are we expected to be perfect victims when our oppressors are not expected to be perfect? Which is one of my biggest things, right? There's a difference between setting boundaries with people and gatekeeping people. There's a big difference. Number three, why are leftists? I'm a libertarian socialist. I joke that you come all the way to the left, you get your guns back because you can't have an unarmed proletariat. And like, why are leftists so enamored with peace washing the civil rights movement? Last time I checked, Dr. King was assassinated and was one of the most hated men in America. And the civil rights movement, our movement started with bricks being thrown, right? So I get really annoyed with people peace washing all of our movements and saying, everything was, roses and daisies. Not saying that's what you're doing. You're not. But a lot of people in our community do that. They're like, oh, everything's been peaceful since day one. No, it's not. That's not true. That's factually inaccurate. The sky is blue. That's not true, right? And it's these things. Maybe it's because I'm getting older too, and I've dealt with a lot of things myself, including physical violence and everything else. But what I also really find annoying too is when people like, oh, well, they had a wrong opinion. Well, okay, was their opinion, hey, we should kill the Jews? Yeah, that's a wrong opinion. And maybe I don't want to talk to somebody that has that wrong opinion, because it is not, it's not just like we can have disagreements about like what we should put on pizza. By the way, pineapple doesn't go on pizza. Fuck you, fight me. Those types of situations where, oh, well, they just had a wrong opinion. Okay, well, was their opinion kill all the transes? Was their opinion, hey, I just disagree on where we should spend tax? You know, like there's a difference here, I think, that a lot of people in our community and a lot of activists and advocates are missing when it comes to how we handle this fight. And I'm sorry if I lose somebody that is potentially willing to fight for my rights because I was rude to them. I'm sorry, they were never there in the first place.
That's not my point, is that you were rude to them. We have to, what a lot of our comrades and accomplices need to understand is that we're like a burn victim. We're like, I use this analogy all the time when I do the teaching. When you're dealing with a lot of trans people, we're like a burn victim. We've been burned 3rd degree all over our body. And you might be coming at us with a match in a dark room, and all we see is a huge bonfire. And we might react extremely because you're trying to help us with that match. But if you come at us with intent and purpose of hurting us, that's when we need to go off on that person. But if the intent is not there to hurt us, we shouldn't be pushing those away. We need to look at the intent of the person. And I'm totally with that. One of my favorite things in the civil rights movement was the lessons learned from the Walgreens lunch counter protest. That's why I believe in peaceful protests. Those types of protests were the turning point in the civil rights movement, where people trained forever to go sit at that lunch counter and be spit at, called horrible names, have hot coffee poured over them, slapped, spit at, arrested, everything else. And they didn't fight back. And people ended up empathizing with them. If you take a look at civil rights and actually study the history of it, peaceful protest does more to get people behind your cause than riots and everything else. Now, I'm not saying there ain't places for riots. There's a ton of places for riots. The Stonewall riots were needed for that specific time. They were, and we never know. We're probably going to end up in a civil war within the next year. That's my opinion, is that that's where we're headed. We're going to end up in a civil war, but it doesn't mean we have to light the gasoline tank in order to get there faster.
One thing that's come up, and we've seen this working with a number of different groups, with different organizations, different minority focuses and such, is that getting leftists into a room and getting them to agree on anything is hurting cats.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have had some blowout, knockdown, drag out fights between people who are
there's room for both points of view.
99% of things. And that last 1% is just like, no, we can never work with you, Sons of Liberty. Never. It's just, really, dude, come on. So we're not looking, we're not looking for marriage here. We're looking to get along on the same side of the revolution. Okay, just set some range here, what we actually need. Try to get where we have to be. Maybe we can't agree on every single tactic. Maybe we're going to turn a blind eye while you do this kind of protest that we don't particularly agree with. But we're going to go do our thing. You're not going to say anything about it, and we're going to coexist because we're both after getting Velveeta Voldemort out of power.
Yep. So let me guess. You went in there and showed them Admin Tim's OnlyFans page. That was your decision.
Look,
that was what you decided.
Modern problems call for modern solutions. If I can borrow the
Outstanding.
Your mic is off.
I do believe that there's room for both the way Ciara wants to go at it, and room for the way I want to go, or the way that people I work with want to go at it. The problem is, we need to understand is that if I go to something that Ciara's doing, I need to follow her in the way she's doing it.
Yeah.
If I run something, she needs to come and respect the way that I'm doing something. If I'm doing a rally and I say no harassing anyone, if there's someone being harassed, come get one of us. We'll deal with it. There's not going to be any violence from our side. Then there's not going to be any violence from our side. If I go to her thing and she says, if something happens, we're rioting in the streets, then I expect I'm gonna be rioting in the streets. I'm just using an example. I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just using an example because I've been with a lot of different groups over the years, and the group that threatened me here and my LGBT community, I mean, they actually gave me death threats and told me not to come into the city of Buffalo anymore because they were so extreme left. Everything had to be punch a person in the nose, whether they're a Nazi or not. If they're against us, they're against us. You're either with us or against us. There is no gray area. There is no asking for empathy. If you don't believe exactly the way we do, you're the enemy.
They sound like the feds, whoever that group is. Just
classic W position.
Yeah, I would
are the extreme left. They are extreme left.
I will say that I will say that my position is, you know, holding up the brick, metaphorically and symbolically for those watching the stream. I'm holding up a metaphoric and symbolic brick. I have no intent to do anything. You know, I know who's watching the stream. My position comes from, I think, losing too many people.
Mm-hmm.
And losing them to levels of violence that are really hard to describe and really hard to, you know, how do you react to a 17-year-old trans girl being strangled to death with her own hair in the backseat of a
on
car?
fire and having her genitals mutilated after being sexually assaulted and set on fire with a gas can and still living, and then dying 3 months later. Yes, I know the stories.
And so, but the thing is, like, for me, I'm tired. And I'm tired of being nice. I'm tired of being polite. I'm tired of begging and pleading and crying and being, you know, please stop hurting me. I think the other thing we're not taking into consideration in our communities and in our spaces is that this is a drastically different environment than any environment before it. I think demonstrably so. The speed at which we're watching generational damage being done to this country, that is, some of it's probably irreparable, or at least we're looking at decades and decades worth of recovery after this is done with. I think we're using the old tools that worked in a completely new environment. And to use the phrase from Fallout, war never changes. Yes, it does. It does. It does change. And I think that a lot of our activism and advocacy and outreach is predicated on old ways of thinking that I really don't think are going to get us out the other side of a literal neo-Nazi, Christian, nationalist, fascist, use the buzzwords, regime that we're dealing with right now. You know, we're watching an administration that is openly defying courts. We're sitting in situations where we've got judges writing opinions that are like, well, you know, I could hold them in contempt, but if I do that, I risk a situation where two law enforcement agencies are pointing guns at each other, and that scares me. You know, we're in a completely different environment, and I think it is detrimental to not be willing to at least acknowledge that and look back at all of your tactics and techniques and examine them, you know, and be like, yeah.
I think we're in the middle of repeating history of 1930s Germany. That's the history repeats itself. It's just in a cyclical thing. We're repeating 1930s Germany. So we need to be loud as possible and raise the alarms as much as we can. And I also believe that we're on our way to a hot civil war in this country. I believe that he's going to keep ramping things up. One of his extremist groups is going to cause a violent, causing the extreme left on our side to retaliate, and martial law will be declared. My assumption from studying history is that's within a year. I think we have less than a year for that to happen. Just by studying history and studying how everything happened before, because we are more technologically advanced, it's not going to take 4 or 5 years. It's going to take a year. And so I'm going to try everything I can peacefully first, because let me tell you, when I lose my peaceful side, I'm not very fun. I've been violent before, and I got to do everything I can not to be that person. So when it's time to throw that brick, because I'm walking with the brick. It's in my backpack instead of my hand. I'm going to be right there with you throwing the bricks. But right now, I have to try every way possible not to go down that road. And that's where I'm at.
Well, I know we're the guests, but I feel like we've done all the talking without letting our generous hosts ask the questions and stuff. I know Big Sarge is muted, and yeah,
look, that's sometimes that's for the best. If Big Sarge is muted, there is a good reason that Big Sarge is muted.
Gotcha.
It's not just that Big Sarge has forgotten he's
I
on
love
mute,
debating,
which
by
also
the way.
sometimes
I
happens.
like debating, on a one-on-one, not like the TikTok debates. I like debating one-on-one. So
I will say that one thing we should all keep in mind is that we're 90-some days into this shit show, and we can't be getting exhausted, and we can't be shoving our allies away from us. We're going to have disagreements. We're not going to be perfectly aligned. We're going to have to find ways to make it work.
And no formula is 100%. No formula has been 100% in any civil rights movement throughout history. No recipe has baked the cake, because otherwise equality would be standing right now across the board for every demographic.
We've had a couple people in chat ask for updates on the races and what's going on. They've only called one. They called the 6th district for the Republican Randy Fine, but he only took it by 14%. And I realize that might sound like a lot, but that difference went Trump's way by 33 points. That was chopped in half. And the other race is very, very close. And the Wisconsin race looks like it's running. Last thing I have here is the Dems up by about 3%.
And Randy
so they're both going to come down.
It's so ridiculously staunchly red in his area. The fact that
deeply red.
I mean, that's something, because that's the same area that my husband's from. So that just goes to show you that's where my husband was born and raised. So,
and we just had a race up here in PA for one of our state races. That was a district that had been held by Republicans for forever, and it got flipped. I think we're going to see a hard pitch towards blue from red here, and it's because people are pissed off. And I think it's up to us to keep that anger focused on the issues that really matter. One thing I've seen early on is just some of the protests that we've gone to, some of the bigger ones. It is a protest for everything. There's the expected ones: protest for women's rights, protesting for trans rights, protesting for equality in education, and then it would be like also protesting for pets' rights. And it's like, I like the pets' rights and all, but is that the emergency? And I'm probably a bad guy for singling out the pets' rights movement, of course. But it really is. We've got to focus on the battles where we're getting people hurt.
Yeah.
That we've got to be taking that fight to this orange clown, and we've got to keep that energy in the media, in the broadcasts, in videos like that Tim and Edmund Doug do, because it's a long fight. We're going to have to sustain this.
Well, and I don't want to end up at something that puts my community in danger, because someone decided to throw a water bottle at a peaceful protest, the group that's counter protesting, and they decide to come at us because you know who they're coming after.
Right.
Is us first, and then maybe after the guy that threw the water bottle.
I feel I feel like I'm being misunderstood.
No, I understand you, and I'm not using what you were saying. I'm just saying when I'm doing something like this, I just can't be a part of a group that's gonna do something like that. And
Literally, statistically speaking, 96% of the time it's the right wing. But like,
yes.
it's like when I'm talking about the things I'm talking about, it's I will work with people who are willing to at least treat me like a human being and treat me with respect. First and foremost.
That's the intent thing.
Yeah.
You have to look at the person's intent. You have to look at the person's intent.
I gotta dip out, yo. I gotta dip out. I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me. This was an extremely awesome discussion, and I hope to see you guys back, and I hope to be in constant contact with you guys. All right,
Sergeant, you got to be coming to the April 30th event, DC. Want to see you there, not just Tim.
Okay, I'll see what I probably won't, but if we're doing something, it's more than likely I'm going to be on Discord.
Well, the second half of
the CRT stuff. So
the second half of our protest on the 30th in DC is if you can't make DC, we want everyone to going to their closest VA hospital. Get on the sidewalk with a sign that says "I love my VA." We love our VA. Our VA healthcare workers deserve respect. We need to thank all that kind of messaging. Oh, and don't forget the greatest sign of them all. At least transgender service people don't have bone spurs.
That is a good one.
I love it.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, guys. Have a good one, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
See you, Doug.
And Clara, I'm someone who likes the tranny word too, by the way. I love that word. Matter of fact, it's one of my favorite jokes to loosen things up is I use a mobility scooter because I'm slowly losing the ability to walk. So I use a mobility scooter all the time. And does anyone know what's wrong with it when I'm on the mobility scooter? Got a busted tranny on it.
That's a good one.
I hang
like
out
that
with
one.
bikers too much. I do hang out with a lot of bikers. So
I mean, for me too, it's a reclamation thing, right? Like if somebody hurls that slur at me and I respond with, "Yeah, I am. What of it?" It's like it immediately disarms them because they're like, "Well, you're supposed to be mad." And I'm like, "No. Actually, I'm laughing because you're pathetic." You know, like
there's nothing funnier than not reacting to the hate.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys remember that during COVID, there was the angry gym owner, Robbie De Niro, on Fox News. Big bearded guy. He was used to be a Marine, and I say used to be because he doesn't act like it anymore. He's homophobic, transphobic. He's white nationalist type, and I've stood up to him here in our area. He got kicked out of a school board meeting because he was helping the Moms for Liberty type people. All I did was stand in front of him, continue reading our protest crap, and he's yelling every slur he can. And the funny part was when he found out he couldn't get anything out of me, he took his motorcycle, put it where we were protesting with the exhaust pipes pointed at the church, which had its doors open, where they were having their Moms for Liberty meeting, and throwing all the exhaust, trying to drown us out with his motorcycle, gassing the Moms for Liberty people with the exhaust fumes. The cops had to tell him to knock it off because he was going to kill someone in the church. So when you don't react to this stuff, that's what they want. They want to goat you into a reaction. And that's been my experience for the past 15 years. And if you don't give them that reaction, holy cow, do they have a meltdown. Now, it doesn't work every time. There's a certain percentage that doesn't care if you react, but most of the time, they're trying to get you on video doing something wrong. They're trying to point and say, see, I told you, they're the bad guys, when actually they are. You don't react to it, they ain't got nothing but hot air. Nothing but hot air. And it's hysterical to watch them melt down. Of course, I got a lot of experience in bars and not reacting to stupid, angry drunks. So I have a little more patience for it than most people do.
Yeah, I don't think I have any. I'm short on patience.
Tim, we can't hear you, even though you're not muted.
Not
My
again.
bad.
Now we hear you.
Yeah, I turned my microphone off accidentally. Sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and call the live stream for the night. Mikey is reminding me that he needs to be fed, and I'm running out of drink. And also, I think Mr. Admin Tim wants to, So I do want to thank Ciara and Diana for being on the show with my bearded cishet ass. Thank you guys for coming on and talking about the issues that are important to you and allowing us to be part of educating the public as to trans veterans issues. I also want to thank the moderator team that basically camped out in the live stream comment sections to make sure that we didn't have any fucking trolls, because inevitably there's like one or two, and I don't think I've seen a single one today, so that's good. So before I do sign off, every day for the month of April, I'll be releasing at least one video per day on the subject of Confederate Heritage Month, which is my personal project. And I'll tell you about Southern Unionists, which are Southerners who remain loyal to the United States. On occasion, I'll talk about subjects that put the lie to the lost cause narrative. And we're also running a crowdfunding campaign. It just launched this morning to fund a year-long documentary web series called Let's Talk About the Civil War. The links are all over our socials. I hope to go out and visit. There's a Civil War battlefield in Tampa, so I can go down there and hang out with Admin Jen and get her on camera and do some stuff there. Go to Gettysburg with Admin Matt, Admin James, etc., etc. This coming Thursday, 2 days from now, on the same bat time, same bat channel. If you don't understand that reference, you can just go fucking Google it. We'll be doing our usual live stream, but on Thursday, we'll be doing a live stream with Cliff Cash and Jessica Denson again. We'll be talking about the upcoming April 5th protests and really, I guess, whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Next Tuesday, April 8th, big announcement. I am pleased to announce that we will have on the Sons of Liberty live stream, and I'm going to fuck this last name up, Kat Abu Ghazala, who is a pretty big social media content creator. She goes by Kat Abu. She was raised in a conservative, religious, Republican environment, and she became progressive during and after college. Anyway, Kat is now running for Congress, specifically for, checks notes, Illinois' 9th District, to unseat longtime progressive incumbent Democrat Jan Schakowsky, I think this is pronounced. Basically, Kat is doing what we've been saying needs to happen. Primary these antiquated establishment Dems who are basically centrist masquerading as progressives, but also the fact that Jan is pushing 80 years old. And not to sound ageist or whatever, but old white people who are moving the Democratic Party forward kind of need to hand it over to the younger crowd. Anyway, her platform is really awesome. It's basically like Democrats are lip dicks, but, you know, the same things that I say, but without all the profanity and the toxic masculinity or whatever. So I am thrilled that our team has made that happen. Tuesday after next, the 15th of April, we have fellow left-wing commentator Angry Ginger making an appearance on the live stream.
I thought you were the Angry Ginger.
Apparently, I'm not. I'm the Angry Veteran Ginger. And Angry Ginger might be a veteran, and I might just be encroaching. I
You're
don't
the one
know.
that yells all the time on TikTok?
Yeah, is that Jolly Ginger or is it Angry Ginger?
No, not Jolly Ginger. I met Jolly Ginger at the 14 March protest, and I emailed him, and I need to follow up with that.
I got
Anyway.
to get a picture with him, U.S. Army Overlord, and combat vet against Trump. We've all talked in the past.
I got to be honest, 20 years ago, we'd all sound insane reading off these names.
I know, right? I'm like,
these are the biggest personalities.
Like things have kind of flipped around. So
I feel old because I just used Commander Patton as my username. That's it, Commander Patton.
See, y'all can respect names.
Mm-hmm.
It's
doable. That is our live stream schedule and what's going on for the rest of April. And with that, I bid everybody a good night. Thank you again, Ciara and Diana, for coming on the show. Thank you, everybody who's tuned into the live stream, has been in the comments, keeping it civil but keeping it real. And that's our show for tonight. Anybody want to do the 2 claps and a rig, or should I do it?
I mean, it's really best with you, but
do it.
Well, why don't you do it this time, Matt?
I can't possibly measure up to that, sir. That is performance.
Yes, you can. Come on.
It's not easy.
It's super. It is. It's easy. You literally. Oh.
It's so
claps
easy. Even
and a
a
rig.
wrestler can do it.
Yay!